Hello and welcome to the April monthly council meeting for Corangamite Shire. I'm Kate Macon, the Mayor of Corangamite Shire, and I will now introduce my fellow councillors around the table. We have Deputy Mayor Laurie Hickey, Councillor Ruth Castrain, Councillor Joe Beard, Councillor Jamie Bogles, Councillor Geraldine Canady, and Councillor Nick Cole. And there's a few directors and managers around the table as well, so I'll introduce those two. First, we have Mr. Sean Broadbent, Director of Works and Services, Miss Justine Lindley, Director of Sustainable Development, Miss Belinda Bennett, Manager of Environment and Emergency. And the next two people I'm introducing are new to our team, so welcome. We have Mr. Andrew Neild from Manager of Regulatory Services. I have Prabhath Jai Wawanda, Manager of Finance. I have David Harrington, Director of Corporate and Community Services. I have Mr. Jared Woff, Manager of Facilities and Recreation. I also have Miss Catherine Anderson, Manager of Governance and Civic Support. And last but not least, I have our Chief Executive Officer, Mr. David Ray, sitting around the table today. Just a bit of a mouthful, just a few happening around the table today. So first off, we'll go with the prayer. We ask for guidance and blessing on this council. May the true needs and well-being of our communities be our concern. Help us who serve as leaders to remember that all our decisions are made in the best interest of the people, culture and the environment of the Corangamite Shire. Amen. Corangamite Shire Council acknowledges and pays our respects to the Eastern Maar and Wadawurrung peoples, as the traditional owners of the lands that we live, work and play. We also acknowledge their elders, past and present, and recognise their ongoing spiritual, cultural and educational practices. Mr. CEO, do we have any apologies for today?
Madam Mayor, there are no apologies this evening.
Excellent. Do we have any conflicts of interest?
Madam Mayor, conflicts have been declared by Councillor Cole and yourself in relation to item 1.1.
Perfect, thank you. Item number 5 is confirmation of minutes for the 25th of March 2025. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Cole, do I have a seconder? Councillor Beard, all those in favour? Carried, thank you. Now there's no deputations or presentations today should I say. I'll keep going to tonight. I'll move on to our first lot of reports. So first is item number 7, committee reports. 7.1, Mount Leura, Mount Sugarloaf Management Committee Annual Report and Budget 2025-2026. Miss Bennett.
Thank you. This report provides an update on the Mount Leura, Mount Sugarloaf Management Committee activities over the past year. So the committee is responsible for implementing the management plan for the reserves and continues to do so in a way that provides a positive community and environment benefits. Some of the key achievements that the committee's done over the past 12 months have included NAIDOC week activities, which were attended by more than 15 people, revegetation of areas that had previously been grazed, new signage at information shelters, regular community activities such as the recent 4 Peaks Challenge. None of these activities could be possible without a huge effort of volunteers. And as noted in the report, over the past years, there's been an estimated 2,000 volunteer hours contributed to the project through both committee members, friends of Mount Leura, as well as the wider community. The report also provides advice on the appointment of 2 new committee members. In accordance with the committee's instrument of delegation, council advertised for 2 committee vacancies, each with a 3-year term. The nominations were assessed by the committee against the selection criteria, and based off this assessment, the committee recommends that Phoebe Hemingway and Noni Wallace be appointed to the committee. Both are new to the committee and have skills and experience that will complement future and current committee needs. Recommendations before you.
Thank you, Ms Bennett. Councillors, as a recommendation, do I have a move for that one, please? Councillor Hickey, do I have a seconder? Councillor Castrain, Councillor Hickey.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yes, committee managers provide a very valuable service to our whole community, and certainly the Mount Leura, Mount Sugarloaf Management Committee are no exception. Of course, these 2 mountains are the biggest, the tallest in the Leura ward, with Mount Leura just pipping Mount Sugarloaf by 2 metres. You're probably already aware of that. And it's great to see that Phoebe Hemingway and Naomi Wallace have put their hands together to be represented on the committee for another 3-year term. I congratulate them on their appointment, but also thank the rest of the committee who have done so very well, have served the committee so very well, and for those who are stepping away, I thank them very much for their service. So very happy to move this recommendation, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Higgie. Councillor Castrone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'm pleased to see the annual report from the Mount Lura Mount Sugarloaf Committee. They, as Councillor Hickey said, they do an amazing job. They're volunteers who manage Mount Lura being our asset and Mount Sugarloaf being a National Trust asset. It's good to see 14,000 people took the opportunity to climb up Mount Lura, so that's absolutely fantastic. Also grateful for the support of the partnership that they've formed with the Friends of Mount Lura group. They do an amazing job, and as we see, $50,000 worth of volunteer labour has been put into the mounts over the last 12 months. It's great to see too that the management plan has been updated, and I know a lot of people talk to me about fire risk, and it's good that there's ongoing collaboration with the CFA vegetation management team and the council emergency team to try and facilitate some ecological burns. That would be great. $34,000 to employ the project officer is certainly, I think, money well spent and well invested in this very valuable asset to the Corangamite Shire. So I'm happy to second this motion and to certainly put in my 5 cents worth when it comes to the budget discussions around the $34,000. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Castrone. Councillors, is there any other comments? If not, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Next item is item 8, planning report. Myself and Councillor Cole have a conflict on this. Councillor Cole?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a general conflict. I'm a neighbour of one of the people.
And I also have a general conflict as well. My husband is, the client is the applicant, so a bit of a conflict there. So I'll pass it over to the Deputy Mayor.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is 8.1, planning permit application PP 2024/103 451 Melrose Road, Corangamite, a 2-lot subdivision, excision of dwelling. Mr. Neal, please.
Yes, thank you. Through the Deputy Mayor. Council must consider a planning permit application seeking approval for a 2-lot subdivision at 451 Melrose Road, Corangamite. The report before Council provides an officer assessment of the application, including the one objection against the Corangamite planning scheme. The officer assessment concludes that the proposed subdivision, which creates a small rural residential lot within the farming zone, does not provide an acceptable response to the relevant strategic directions, planning policy and provisions of the planning scheme. The recommendation is that Council issue a notice of decision to refuse to grant a permit. The applicant has submitted a written request for Council to defer its decision to the next Council meeting. There are no planning issues in deferring the decision should Council wish to pursue this outcome.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Neal. So I've got a motion there that we. Sorry.
A recommendation.
A recommendation there that that has been forwarded, is written before you. Would someone like to move to that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Beard, and someone second that. Councillor Vogels. Councillor Beard.
Thank you, and through you, Deputy Mayor, having had a lengthy chat with the applicant this morning prior to his formal written request seeking a deferral of this application, fully supportive of that, and the fact that it's gone around the way of it being a formal written deferral through to the planning department, then it's up to us to support that request. In the meantime, I do want to thank the officers for their assessment. I mean, planning decisions are no mean feat, and the amount of work and time and effort definitely that goes into this. So I do want to thank the officers for at least bringing it to the table this time, but we look forward to it coming back to the next council meeting.
Thank you very much, Councillor Beard. Councillor Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Deputy Mayor, nothing further to add. Thank you.
Okay, Council, is there any further discussion on the matter? If not, I shall put it to the vote. Does someone like to move, would everyone like to move that they are in favour? Anyone against? Duly carried. Thank you. Thank you.
Rightio, moving on. Moving on to item 9, Officers' Report. I have 9.1, Council Annual Action Plan Performance July 2024 to March 2025. Ms Anson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. The annual action plan is derived from the council plan, a strategic document that sets out our priorities and directions of the council via strategic objectives, strategies to achieve the objectives, and reporting on council's progress against these actions. There are 61 actions identified in the current annual action plan, and this report is the third quarter report and demonstrates progress against these actions. As at 31 March 2025, 37 annual action items were in progress, 17 annual action items were completed, 6 annual action items were not started but expected to be completed by 30 June this year, and 1 annual action item was deferred due to financial constraints, but the Council continues to advocate for funding to enable completion in the future. Madam Mayor, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Anderson. Councillors, the recommendation is before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Castrain, do I have a seconder? Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Castrain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's certainly good to see things are underway and a number of projects have been completed or are in progress. I think what this report does, it just shows the breadth of work that's carried out by Council right across the year and highlights quite clearly about what the objective is going to be and how it's being delivered. It just amazes me that, you know, when we look through this and we have a very, very capable staff who, you know, as we say often, we councillors design these plans and then hand it over to the staff to deliver, and they certainly do well. I'd just like to mention the fact that the continued implementation of the Disability and Access Inclusion Plan is that all 32 actions completed or in progress. I think that's fabulous outcome with the Access and Inclusion team. So that's all I have. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Castrain. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Not too much more to add. I too appreciate very much the work that our council organisation does, because there's just such a huge breadth of projects that are occurring all the time that are, you know, making our livability in Corangamite so much better every day. So it is, you know, very, very impressive, the work that's being done. You know, there's footpaths, there's works in our recreation reserves, there's playgrounds, there's anything you can think of. The council has an involvement with the upkeep, the improvement to these spaces, and it's supporting our communities in such a practical and profound way. So I think, you know, to have all of this work in progress with 61 actions in progress at this point in time, and to see, you know, how far we've come. Like, there's only 6 not started and 1 that's been deferred out of all that. So I think it's very impressive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Councillors, is there any more comments? If not, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I move on to item 9.2, March 2025 Finance Report. Mr. Joe Wadanda.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, this report is to note Council's current financial position as at 31st March 2025, and to seek approval for the changes that we have done since the mid-year budget review for the 24-25 budgets, which is about 82,000 unfavorable changes. The details of the variances can be found on page number 52. Overall, Council financial performance for the 24-25 financial year is on target with a year-to-date favourable cash variance of 2.5 million against the budget. The main reasons can be found on page 42. The council revised cash surplus at year-end is predicted to be 21.6 million, which will be the starting point for the 25-26 budgets, and which is not different from the last quarter cash position. Madam Mayor, the recommendations are before you. I'm happy to try to answer any questions you all may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jayawanda. Councillors, there's a recommendation for us. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Canady, do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey, Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think it's really good. Like we're at the end of the third quarter, and our financial performance for 24-25 is on track and looking really rather good. It's been pretty helpful, of course. The wise investments that have been made have returned more than what we predicted, so that's very welcome. And we've had like a $1.13 million underspend on some of our projects. Not to say that spend mightn't change during the next quarter, but at this point in time, we're tracking really well. We've got that one unfavourable variance of 82,000, but I mean it's quite justified really, as it was came about due to repairs that were required on defects to our sealed roads because of the very, very dry conditions that we're experiencing. We saw some quite amazing photographs of some of the road defects that have been identified around the Shire. Just recently there was one with a crack through the bitumen and right off onto the shoulder and into the grass. I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. So that's where that 82,000 went. So we've still got our cash surplus predicted for June 2025. So I'm happy with this report and support the recommendation before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Councillor Hickey?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a budget, and so prepared by the finance team, and I thank them all very much for their work in the best with the best possible knowledge. Yes, there is an unfavourable adjustment to the budget. It's $82,000. It's not a lot compared to the whole Shire budget. However, there are very, very valid reasons for that has occurred, and certainly as Councillor Canady just mentioned, the dry season that we're all experiencing has played quite a major role in the cracking and the deformation of a lot of the roads that we use to drive on our own private roads. There are a lot of challenges this year, and probably if I could forecast the next financial year, due to the tightening constraints and the cost of living that has just continued to increase. And I think we all know that from our own private budgets, that it is getting harder to make ends meet. The council has got exactly the same situations, just that there's a lot more zeros on there, Mayor. So I'm happy to second the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillors, is there any more comments? If not, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I move on to item 9.3, Community Initiated Projects Policy. Mr. Watt.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, the Community Initiated Project Policy has been developed to assist and support community organisations seeking to develop new infrastructure or to renew existing assets on council-owned or controlled land. It outlines the responsibilities for both council and the initiating community organisation. The policy has been reviewed with some amendments proposed as tabled. The policy acknowledges that many communities are continually striving to improve the appearance of their townships and associated infrastructure outside of the planning and associated works of council. The revised policy aims to ensure councils and communities' involvement in the infrastructure projects is well defined, transparent and consistent. Councillors, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr. Waff. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Beard, do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Canady, Councillor Beard.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. The review of this policy, I think, was really timely. I guess when you strip it right back and you think about the makeup of our communities now, things have just changed, especially when it comes to our volunteers. 15 years ago, when community planning was one of our priorities of this council around community initiated projects, and then the community also somewhat carrying
not so much the liability, but the risk involved in taking on these community initiated projects. It's just changed. So a lot of projects now, its reality is that we need to make sure that we're at the table. The transparency of it is that everything's shared, whatever the community is still wanting, and which we're also still encouraging, don't get me wrong, it aligns with what our capabilities are to look after that, particularly if it's infrastructure into the future. So this isn't, I don't look at this policy review as it's diminishing the role of community initiated projects at all. I think what it's doing is just bringing it up to a better partnership, a more transparent partnership between community and council. And and we have already seen that there's been projects that would typically be looked after. I, for one, have been part of some of those projects where, you know, it was run by a volunteer group, and then for whatever reason the volunteers just aren't there anymore. So then all of a sudden that project falls behind, and then we straight away pick up the phone and say, well, council just has to fix it. That's not fair, because as we just spoke to before, we've got a massive budget and so many other projects that our officers are responsible for. So there just needs to be a better partnership, and I really do think that this, I guess this review policy does achieve that. So very supportive, and I thank the officers for their time and still trying to keep the initiated projects by the community as a priority. Still, we still want to see that happen. We just need to be better kept in the loop with it.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we certainly have had the conversations around how best to frame this policy, and I think Councillor Beard spoke really well to the needs that have emerged in the community in relation to this sort of work, because we really do appreciate so much these community groups and their enterprise and their will to sort of get behind their communities and do something that's really valuable. But certainly there were two key words there, capability and partnership, and those things have changed. And I think council's always had a really strong will to get behind these community groups. So, you know, of course that's a partnership in its own way, but of course the expectations do need to be really well defined, because that's, you know, where you get good outcomes, when you've got real definition in your policies and it's very clear about you know, what can and can't be done. I noticed that this policy did pay a little bit of extra attention to ongoing maintenance, because that is an area that has proven to be a little bit challenging for some of our community groups, and perhaps maybe a little overlooked. It's, you know, not necessarily anyone's fault in particular, but it's just been something we've noted, and there's been a little tweak in the policy to hopefully manage that better into the future. But certainly support the motion before us, and thank the officers very much for the work that's been done.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Hickey?
Just briefly to add to what's already been said, and I agree with everything that has been said. Many years ago we were involved in a project, a number of us back in the way back in the 80s, whereby we took it upon ourselves to revegetate one particular part of a community asset. There was certainly plenty of initiative and there was plenty of enthusiasm, but in the fullness of time those volunteer numbers changed, and the makeup of the population changed, and there wasn't perhaps the same enthusiasm to continue to provide the maintenance, and the project actually started costing the community more than what it should have. So yes, I can actually see the benefit of having this policy in place and being updated, and yes, just make sure that we certainly are encouraging initiative and enthusiasm, but it needs to be viewed through the policy spectrum. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Any other comments?
So through you, Madam Mayor, and just to re-emphasise, it's council-owned land.
Yep.
Which I'm sorry I didn't actually say that as part of my recommendation moving, but it's just to reiterate that it is certainly council-owned land, and everyone can go for their life if it's on their own private land.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that clarification, Councillor Beard. I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I'll move on to item 9.4, playground management policy. Mr. Watt.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Council manages and maintains a number of public playgrounds across the Shire, including community playgrounds and those in preschools. This policy aims to establish funding and management arrangements for playgrounds that are owned or managed by council and which are generally accessible for community use. The policy has been reviewed with only minor changes proposed, and the proposed policy provides us ongoing resources to the service level of council's playgrounds. It retains current maintenance standards, supports communities of other playground facilities, provides a capital works renewal schedule consistent with industry best practice and our local environment. Councillors, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr Woff. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover for that one, please?
Mayor, can I move it with an amendment?
Sure, Councillor Vogels.
And just a slight amendment. The amendment would be that in the playground renew schedule table 2, the reference to the Princetown playground in Princetown is to be removed, and the Port Campbell playground is noted as Apex Park playground.
Sure.
And this is because of Gorkap taking over the land.
At Princetown.
At Princetown.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, who is Councillor Strain, and you're happy with those amendments, Councillor Strain? Thank you. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So playgrounds are an important part of the community, especially for not just children but families as a whole. And we need to keep on top and update this policy so that we can keep upgrading playgrounds as their turn comes up, as they get worn out, run down, maybe not fit for purpose or fit for safety legislation that's current, and improve all abilities access. It's extremely important moving forward to keep everything up to scratch so that they can be a safe place for children to play.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Constrain.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I agree with you, Councillor Vogels. It is really important that we do the annual audit once a year of our playgrounds, just to make sure that they are in a safe condition for our children, our families to use. It's great to see the schedule, and it's amazing to think that Camperdown's coming around quite quickly. It doesn't seem that long ago that we did it, and it's certainly a quality playground. I think all our playgrounds are. I mean, they're obviously an asset to the local people to use, local children, but they're also to support businesses. And I know that when we established Apex Park in Camperdown, to the extent that we have, it was part of it was a driver of supporting local business, that people realised that there was a good playground to be accessed. They could stop there, they could go up the street and buy some lunch, and kids could have a play, break their journey. So playgrounds really play a vital role in business support as well. So yeah, I'm glad there's only minor changes to this policy, but thank you for picking up about Princetown now being under Gorkap's remit, and I'm sure they'll maintain their playgrounds to a similar standard. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Constrain. Is there any other comments? If not, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I move on to item 9.5, Public Halls Management Policy. Mr Woff.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, this report recommends adoption of a revised Public Halls Management Policy as a guide to the funding and management arrangements for public halls located within the Corangamite Shire. The policy has been reviewed with minor amendments proposed. The proposed amendments to the policy will maintain the current level of support for hall operations and management responsibilities, whilst also continuing to assist the committees who deliver this essential service to the community. Councillors, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr Woff. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Constrain, do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Beard, Councillor Constrain.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, and similar to the previous playground policy, it's important that we keep everything up to date with our halls, and in this case many of the halls that we have here are managed by volunteers, so things need to be clear for them about what council's contributions can do. But it's fantastic that I think Theatre Royal has a manager. I think Tim Boone does as well. Mr Woff, you're nodding. Yep. So it's great that we're able to support the volunteers, and there is financial contribution in a table attached to the policy, which is remaining unchanged. I think what I said, 201,000 as part of this recurrent budget goes to halls in this financial year. So substantial amount of money. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Constrain. Councillor Beard.
Through you, Madam Mayor, look, I just think this policy again just provides direction for I think the benefit of our volunteers to know how in which they're funded and how that can play out in terms of how their management, I guess, their style is and what they see as what they'd like to progress while they're looking after our halls. It's also good for us, I think, because we would not be able to look after all these halls if we did not have these committees in place. So having this clear-cut policy, I guess, gives regard to our volunteers first and foremost, that we respect and value the work that they do on council's behalf. Just a quick question for Mr. Waff without notice. This is separate to the committees of management on Crown land halls, because we know we have a lot of community halls out there, for instance, Carpendee, Red Hill. There's some out there that, you know, are thriving, but they're finding it really hard to attract funding, particularly from the state government around looking after those assets. And it's probably, they look at these other hall committees that we support because they're our assets, but just a bit of clarity around that the Crown land halls are completely separate to this policy.
Yeah, thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, that's correct, Councillor Beard. The Crown committees are different, and in terms of funding, appreciate that there is a significant challenge with that. The facility grants program is open at the moment and may be a really good opportunity for some of those hall committees to get some of that funding to assist.
Thank you, Councillor Beard.
Yep, perfect, thanks.
Sure, Councillor Higgy.
Just if I may add, Mayor, and probably I think this policy is very good, but just as a bit of a helicopter view, most of the halls in our shire are getting old. They're all requiring more and more attention the whole time, and the funding bucket seems to be not getting any bigger as the demand on maintenance gets further. So it is a credit to the volunteers who do contribute so many hours to all the halls in our shire to make sure they're of a presentable state and are fit to use for us all. But I think this policy does certainly focus on our community halls, but I think in general the statement could be true of all the halls within our shire.
Thank you, Councillor Higgy. Any other comments? I'll just point out one thing on the table. It does say Port Campbell Community Centre getting zero funding allocation, and this is because it's now managed by Gorkappa as well. So just putting that out there to make sure people realise that we're not neglecting something. Gorkappa is now responsible for that one as well. So, councillors, there's a recommendation before you. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I move on to item 9.6, Corangamite District Indoor Sport and Recreation Centre funding. Last one for you today, Mr. Waff.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. The Corangamite District Indoor Sports and Recreation Committee are seeking the release of $50,000, which was allocated in the 24-25 council budget to support the delivery of the Corangamite Stadium upgrade proposal. That proposal was supported as part of a co-contribution for a grant application to Sport and Rec Victoria. The project application was to upgrade seating, flooring and basketball rings at the Corangamite Stadium. The project was not put forward for application to SRV, and the committee have requested the release of that allocation from council to be able to deliver stage one of the overall project, being the replacement of the basketball ring system. The installation of a new basketball ring system at the Corangamite Stadium is a project that has been supported by council as part of a larger upgrade project. The current system no longer meets the needs of that community, is considered an OH&S issue and is not fit for purpose. Councillors, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Waff, nearly. Councillors, there's a recommendation before you. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Canady. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Castrang. Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, you've got a lot of background information here through a very well put together report, and also the letter from the Corangamite District Indoor Sports and Recreation Committee. I think it all speaks for itself. They really are a very highly functional committee and dedicated and very committed to the work that they're doing. They've got a really well planned program of maintenance and upgrades. You would have read in the report that SRV indicated or flagged that they wouldn't be prepared to provide funding for the original scope of works or the original upgrade proposal, which was like 3 or 4 different bodies of work contained within that. So the committee, once they understood that position, pivoted and approached their upgrades program by staging it. You've just heard Mr. Wolf speak about the basketball rings being stage 1, but there already are 2 other elements of the original body of works that have been completed. That's the toilets and showers and the bathroom and shower upgrade as well. So you can see that this committee will use that $50,000 contribution very well, very wisely, and they'll deliver on the project, as they've shown us so many times previously. Like the 50K is in our adopted 24-25 budget, so I don't think it's a very difficult decision. The committee have done their background work, they've costed the project and already sourced a co-contribution from the Basketball Association. So I fully support the recommendation that's before us, councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Castro?
I think Councillor Kennedy stole my notes. I really can't add anything further. They are an amazing committee. They've done so much in that stadium over the past few years. In my previous role as Central Ward Councillor, I met with them a number of times, and they are a can-do group of people. So, it's disappointing we can't attract some funding out of state government for these projects, but we realise that things just seem to be very tight. But we just can't, a set of basketball rings that is, OH&S risk and not fit for purpose, we certainly can't have those. So I think Council has to take the opportunity of giving the money to the committee, because I know that they'll certainly get value for money. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Castrone. Councillors, are there any other comments? If not, put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I move on to item 9.7, response to petition viewing platforms under Norfolk Island Pines. Ms Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report addresses the petition entitled Viewing Platforms under the Norfolk Island Pines, presented by Mr Peter Eunice at last month's council meeting. A copy of the petition, which is a combination of paper-based and online, containing over 1,400 signatures, has been circulated to councillors under separate cover. The petitioners respectfully request that Corangamite Shire Council remove all of the wooden balustrade panelling and replace it with a balustrade that does not impede the views of the bay, pier, cliffs, beach and headlands from all vantage points. This is in line with the plans of the 14th of November 2019 and in the final plan dated June 2023, which shows section A-A as having vertical components that allow an unhindered view. The online version of the petition also showed 2 photographs which are included in the report. The online petition further stated that the image shows the before and after view. What was part of the character of our town and the view from Lord Street over the bay has been obliterated by the picnic decks. This was a design error and we don't wish to live with. Madam Mayor, all 7 deck platforms have been constructed. The final balustrade treatment with minor modifications, including the lowering by 2 boards of the cladding on deck 1 and replacement of timber cladding with stainless steel tensioned wire on the bay side of deck 1, has been completed. No alteration was made to the cladding for decks 2 and 3. The first 3 decks were made available for public use on the 22nd of March, and the foundations, structural elements, platforms and tie-ins between the concrete footpath and the remaining 4 decks were completed by the 31st of March. Cladding of the balustrade and understory of the remaining 4 decks is currently underway, with decks 4 and 5 open for public use on the 17th of April, and the cladding for the remaining 2 decks, that is 6 and 7, is currently underway. Council does have a construction contract in place with Civil now to deliver the decks as they were designed. Council has 2 separate funding agreements for this project, one with the federal government and one with the state government. To enable completion of the project and acquittal of the grants, the completion of the decks is still required. Council does have a number of options. Firstly, to note the petition and continue to complete the revised deck balustrades inclusive of a mix of timber and tensioned wire balustrading as contracted, or revert to the original endorsed design of full timber balustrades for all decks, or stop the remaining deck construction, noting this will have an impact on compliance with funding agreements and with contracts. The petition and report are before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, there's a recommendation before you. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Vogels, can I just confirm which...
I'm going to move the officer's recommendation. Do we read it?
No, I don't think you need to read it. I think it's there in front of us, so that's fine. The recommendation is to continue going on with what we're doing. Yes? Yeah? Happy
Yep,
with
so,
that?
yeah,
Please do then.
I'll summarise. So we'll note the petition requesting council remove the wooden balustrade panelling and replace it with balustrade. That does not impede their views from all vantage points. And number two would be we continue to complete the revised deck balustrades, inclusive of the mix of timber and tension wire, in accordance with contract 2023017 and our funding agreements with the Commonwealth and state governments. And we'll write to lead petitioner Mr Peter Eunice advising of the outcome.
Lovely. Do I have a seconder for that one, please? Councillor Hickey, Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I won't have much to add to that, except I have been asked to note that in the online petition, if people did not put down their address, it reverted to a generic Melbourne address. So there might be people that it says are from Melbourne that aren't. Might be local.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Hickey?
Nothing, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Is there any other comments? If not, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I'll move on to item 9.8, Business Assistance Scheme for April of 2025. Ms Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide information on the assessment and recommended funding allocation for the April round of the Business Assistance Scheme. One application has been received under Stream 3, Community Enterprise, and has been assessed and recommended for assistance. That application was received from the Cobden Football and Netball Club Incorporated, which includes the supply of services to upskill volunteers, members and community to obtain a responsible service of alcohol certification, supporting local employment and increasing the club's ability to host functions which ensure safety and compliance. The funding assistance requested is $2,000 excluding GST. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillors, there's a recommendation before us. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Beard, do I have a seconder? Councillor Canady, Councillor Beard.
Yes, thank you. And through you, Madam Mayor, happy to support this recommendation. And I think, if anything, it just goes to show, I mean, we see these business assistance scheme applications come through now on a monthly, at each monthly meeting, but it just goes to show the breadth of variety in which our community are actually utilising these opportunities with. And I can see wholeheartedly how this will actually help achieve what I've seen is they're finding it hard for volunteers to help support some of the activities that they're doing, particularly when it comes to the bar staff. It's great to see our facilities, or these type of facilities, being used for various events, whether it be weddings, funerals, parties, even meetings. So, but at the end of the day, you still need the volunteers with the right capabilities to be able to support those activities. So, again, it's just a great example of how we're able to help our community.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually think this is a really great use of the $2,000. To train people, upskilling. Everyone needs it, or most young people certainly seem to make a point of getting their RSA because they'll need it at some point in time. But I think this is a really terrific use of that funding. Have we ever had it funded for something like this before? Have I missed it? Have we, training for RSA?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we have funded some training for RSA for younger members of the community, but this is the first occurrence for a community enterprise which is dedicated to a facility.
Yes, that's what I thought. Anyway, Councillor Beers has said everything else that we needed to hear, but it's certainly a great use of this funding, and I'm sure that there'll be some really good outcomes from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Is there any other comments, councillors? If not, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. We move on to item 10, other business. Councillors, is there any other business you wish to raise? I'll go to Councillor Cole first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to raise and congratulate Penny Smith. She just won the Shooting World Cup in Lima, a gold medal for trap shooting on her 30th birthday, either yesterday or today, I'm not sure, it just came through. And she won just last week in Buenos Aires the same thing, a gold medal. Penny's Jeff Smith's granddaughter, who was the mayor of the Corangamite Shire for quite some time and the ward councillor for the North. So congratulations. I'm sure she's got a very proud grandfather sitting in Sunnyside at the moment watching her achievements. So I'd just like to make mention of that and congratulate her on her 30th birthday as well.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Councillor Beard?
Yes, thank you. And through you, Madam Mayor, I'd just like to make note, obviously we have Anzac Day coming up this Friday, and there's multiple events that people can attend on that particular day. We've got quite a few dawn services for the early risers, and there's nothing more moving than going to a dawn service, whether it be Port Campbell, Terang, I think Skipton and Camperdown have certainly got theirs in the mornings, and having gone to those in the past, it's very, very moving. If people want to know exactly where they're being held and in which towns, definitely check out the Corangamite Shire Facebook page. But I also want to just put an announcement out that tomorrow at the Cobden Cemetery, for those that aren't aware of this particular event, this is our 4th year, where the Cobden Technical School partnered with the Cobden Cemetery Trust, where each ex-serviceman or woman, some of which had been killed in action, get an Australian flag flown at their memorial, sometimes for a couple of weeks, post Anzac Day. The school actually held a service along with the Hampton Specialist School that is now known as the Cobden P12 school. So they actually have all the kids from both schools come along, teachers, families, and then people of those families and friends of those that are interred at the Cobden Cemetery are also invited. It's a massive community day that's growing each and every year. I think we started back with, I think there was 30-something flags the first year this was initiated, I should say. We're now up to 104. So each year it just gets bigger and better. And I said about how moving it is to be at a dawn service, to actually be standing atop at the Cobden Cemetery when the bugle is being played with the last post, knowing that those ex-servicemen and women are right there and those flags flying in the wind, it can take your breath away. So if anyone that hasn't been there before would like to attend, it's tomorrow at 11:30, and that coincides with the school times for the kids. So it's not your typical 11 o'clock, it works around the school kids, so 11:30 tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Beard. Any other business in open business? No? I do have one. We have a very special person, young gentleman. He's a school captain at Camperdown College, Bentley Currell, and his dad. They're riding from Mildura to Camperdown. His aim was to raise $5,000. He's up to nearly $20,000. He's currently in Mortlake having a rest for tonight. He'll be arriving in Camperdown at lunchtime on Thursday. So I really would encourage everyone to come up to Camperdown to the clock tower around lunchtime on Thursday. Welcome Bentley and his dad Gus home from that huge ride from Mildura all the way down to Camperdown, raising funds for brain cancer. Really magnificent. Truly admire what Bentley has done. I think he's blown every expectation of everyone. So congratulations to Bentley and to Gus. But yeah, come along on Thursday around lunchtime and welcome Bentley home. That would be fantastic. So that was my little bit of other business.
Yeah.
We move into open forum. Mr. Ray, is there any questions being submitted?
Madam Mayor, there's no questions or comment via the online stream.
Lovely, thank you. We have one person in the gallery. Would you like to have a comment, Mr. Mulholland? Come on up.
I stand before you in respect to the truck wash, and I ask the question. I understand that you, in the private meeting after this meeting, you're going to discuss it. And my question is, why couldn't private meetings be held in the afternoon prior to this meeting, so as something like the truck wash, you could possibly give a report to the people, because the truck wash not being there is costing the community a lot of money, and we all appreciate and know that it is most needed because of the risk of health outbreaks and all that sort of thing. But it's costing the truck drivers and the farmers a lot of money every week that it is not, a new one is up and running. And I feel that if the private meetings, if I knew as much as you knew, perhaps I would understand why you need to have a private meeting and why it's afterwards. But I think if it was most of these private meetings, if they were before, it would give the opportunity to announce something during your council meeting, and it gives you the time then to encourage the public to come to these meetings and have a cup of tea with you afterwards, so as they can understand and explain to you their little quims and upsets. And I think it's a good opportunity if you could swap things around a little bit.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Mulholland, and I will direct that to my CEO, Mr. Ray.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and Mr. Mulholland, in response to your question or suggestion, I certainly have an open mind. It's something that I will need to discuss with Council. Our governance rules, direct me to set the order of the agenda in consultation with the Mayor. Our governance rules are actually under review at this point in time, and it's probably something that we can look at once that review is undertaken. That's likely to be by the end of the financial year. In relation to your description that it's a private meeting, it's known as a confidential meeting, and it's confidential for reasons as disclosed or as made available in the Act.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. And as there's no one else in our gallery, I would call for a motion to suspend standing orders, please. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Vogel, Councillor Beard. All those in favour? Carried, thank you. So thank you everyone for tuning in to the April meeting. Please drive safely if you're on the roads this weekend. Take care, and we'll see you all next time.